Hey guys, I am Bianca and welcome to another craft break. As always, I am here with you guys pretty much every Wednesday at 3 o'clock and we do a fun Mod Podge project together. Today we will be making this hanging planter sign. We are moving into spring and so I thought that this would be a really fun, easy, and cute project to get yourself in the spring mode. So, to make this project at home, of course, you will need Mod Podge. Today we will be using the matte formula. I will also be using Treasure Gold, and I'll be using the actual gold color. So we have multiple colors of Treasure Gold, but I will be using the actual gold color itself. I am also going to be using our Folk Art Matte Brilliant Ultramarine. And in addition to those things, you will also need some type of stronghold glue. I will be using Aleene's Rapid Glue. You also want to grab a decorative napkin. And we'll talk more about what type of napkin you can use in just a second. You're going to need some type of fire source. I'm going to be using this torch here, but if you have a lighter at home, you can use that as well. You're going to need a small piece of sanding paper, scissors, a paintbrush, and 3 soda cans. And that are the materials that you'll need for this project. Oh, you'll also need this. You're going to need some type of wooden surface. You can find this surface on Plaid Online if you would like to copy my exact design that I will be doing here today. And it actually comes with a hanger on the back. So those are all of the supplies that you'll need for this project. We will go ahead and we will get started. So I'm going to bring over my decorative napkin, my surface, some Mod Podge, and a paintbrush. And we are going to add this napkin onto the front of this surface. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our napkin. And whenever you are using Mod Podge to apply a napkin to any type of surface, you always want to make sure that you are removing the ply from the back of your napkin. Whether it's 1 ply, 2 ply, or 3 ply, you want to make sure you get all of the backing off of that napkin, because if you don't, your napkin will not lay down properly or adhere to the surface that you're using, and you'll create a lot of bubbles and wrinkles. So make sure that you are removing that backing. I will also suggest using a pattern napkin that is somewhat busy. You also want to try not to use a napkin that has a lot of white or negative space. It just looks a little bit better when most of the napkin is covered up with some type of decorative design. So once you have your napkin and you've removed the ply from it, you want to go ahead and grab your Mod Podge, and you're going to cover your surface with a layer of it. So we're not going to go too heavy, but we're also not going to go too light. Let's move the napkin all the way out of the way for a second. So I'm doing a light coat because we did remove the ply from that napkin. And if we overdo it on the Mod Podge, our napkin will easily tear, and we do not want that. So we don't want to oversaturate it with the Mod Podge. So we are adding a medium coat, and you want to make sure that you get every single part of your surface covered in Mod Podge. Well, every single part of your surface that you'll be covering with the napkin. And I'll explain the importance of that with our next step. But for now, you just want to make sure you get it nice and covered. So again, I'm just doing a medium coat, not going too heavy. And we're going to cover this whole thing together here. If you guys are watching from somewhere else other than Atlanta today, and even if you are watching from Atlanta, let us know where you guys are. We love to hear you check in. We also love to hear what projects you're working on. Valentine's Day is officially over, and I know everyone is really excited to jump into spring and Easter. So if you are working on any of those type of projects, let us know. Let us know. Alrighty. So we are coming up towards the end of covering our surface with our Mod Podge. If you didn't catch what formula of Mod Podge I was using earlier when I stated it, I am using the matte formula.
Bianca, we have viewers from New Jersey and Dallas, Texas today.
Ooh. Hey guys, thank you guys for checking in. We are excited to be here with you. All right, so we have one small piece here of our surface left to cover. And then we are going to grab our napkin and add it on. And I'm going to show you my favorite Mod Podge trick. Alrighty. And something I meant to mention in the beginning of this project, if you need to, before you begin this project, you can definitely sand your surface down if it has some rough edges. This surface was already pre-prepped. And like I said, you can get this on platonline.com. So it already came ready for me to use and didn't require much prep. But if you're going to use a surface that you have at home already and it's not prepped, you can definitely go ahead and sand that with a little piece of sanding paper. All right, so we have our surface covered with our Mod Podge. I am going to bring my decorative napkin back over, and I'm going to slowly lay it on top of my surface here. So let's bring this up. And we are going to slowly lay this. So I will start here at the bottom of our sign. So I'm going to line it up. Alrighty. And I'm just going to use my finger to help smooth the napkin out. And try to go in layers. You don't want to lay your napkin down all at once. You want to smooth it out line by line, especially if you're using a palette like I am here. I would not suggest using a rolling tool for this because you don't want to tear your napkin. So we will just continue to smooth it out slowly with our fingers. Trying to get out all those wrinkles and bubbles. And like I was saying earlier, you don't want to use too much Mod Podge because if this were super covered with a heavy coat of that, it would probably easily tear the napkin that we're using. So we want just enough for it to be able to catch our napkin. All right. So I'm just going back over with my fingers. We want to make sure that every part of this surface is covered with the napkin and the Mod Podge. All right. so we have a little bit of our raw surface peeking out here, but that is okay. I'll show you how you can fix that if that happens to you. So we're gonna grab our scissors and we're going to trim off our excess napkin here. Don't worry about getting it too close to the edge, because the trick that I'm getting ready to show you guys will solve that issue. We will actually be burning this with a torch, and you can use a lighter if you have that at home. But you do want to trim as much paper as possible, just so that we don't burn too much of the paper when we do get to that step. But you also don't have to worry about getting super, super close to the edges, because the torch that we will be using and the fire will do that for us. So we're actually going to cover this up here with our excess paper. So I'm going to trim just a little bit of this off, and we'll get a little bit more of our Mod Podge to cover our edge that is peeking out here. Alrighty. And today, guys, I am actually following our Q1 color trend palette here. I'll pull that out in just a second so that you can see some of the colors that we will be working with up until about April. So for these first few months of the year, we are really incorporating some magentas, some darker blues, some greens, and even some yellows and some oranges. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and trim this up just a little bit now that we have our edge covered. Again, like I said, you don't have to worry about getting it perfect. You just wanna try to trim as much of that excess napkin paper as you can. All right. So now we are going to grab our scissors again, and I'm going to go through each slit here to separate each of our wooden slats here. If you are not using a wooden palette at home like this one, you don't have to worry about this step. If you just have a flat surface, you will not have to do this. So I'm just going through and cutting straight through our open slits here. All right, we have one more. All right, so if we were going to try to use our scissors to cut the napkin to size and to match up with the edges of each of these slits, we would probably be sitting here for hours, and actually we would probably never be able to do that. So that is where my favorite Mod Podge trick comes in at. So we are going to flip this palette over. I have a torch here that I'm going to use, and this will be burning all of the rough edges of our napkin here. And when you do this at home, please make sure that you are safe. Please make sure that nothing around you is flammable, and also you do want to try to keep a cup of water nearby just in case you have any accidents. You probably won't, but just in case, I do also have my cup of water here. So I'm going to go through each of these slits here, and we're just going to lightly. So I'll flip this over just so you can see it. So our first slit is already coming together here so you can kind of see the difference. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and continue to do that for the next few sides. So I'll actually hold it up here so you guys can see that. You can kind of see the fire go around and clean up all those edges for us. And this is why we didn't want to have too much excess paper, because we don't want our flame to be super big. We want just enough paper for the flame to be small enough to go around and clean up our edges. All right. So we'll go ahead and we'll finish off the sides. Alrighty. We'll go ahead and finish off this one. I'll hold it up so you guys can see that. So you see how small that flame is? That is what you want to aim for at home.
Bianca, just wanted to check in. We've got viewers from Illinois, Las Vegas, again from Texas, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Michigan, South Carolina, all over the place. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Hey guys. All right. So I'm going to flip this over for just a second here so you can see that the edges of our palette board here are pretty cleaned up. We're going to go ahead and finish in between each of the slats. If you guys have any questions about this technique, definitely let me know. We'll answer them. All right. So we're just going to quickly go through our remaining open slats here. All right. All righty. Two more, guys. Alrighty.
Bianca, Denise asked, is there any way you can get rid of the excess paper without using a torch?
Yes, there is. For a project like this one where I am using a wooden palette, it will take you probably a little bit more time, but you can use sanding paper. I cannot promise that it will be absolutely perfect in the way that it would be if you're using a torch, but you can get it as close to perfect as possible with sanding paper. Again, like I said, it would probably just take you a little bit more time, and it might not be as perfect as you want it to be. But if you don't want to use a torch, you can opt for sanding paper.
And somebody else asked, where do we get those torches? You can find them at most craft stores.
Yeah.
We also have viewers from Mississippi, Tennessee, and from Poland.
Oh, I think last week someone from Scotland was watching, weren't they?
Yeah. Welcome.
That's really cool, guys. All right. So I have just a few more spots that I kind of want to clean up. So I'm just going to go in those areas. Ready? All right. So I think for the rest of this, I will go in with my sanding paper. So we have a few edges that we just want to clean up just a little bit. So right around here, I'm going to use my sanding paper just to kind of smooth these edges out. And if you're wondering why the fire does not burn the napkin, that is because it is still wet from the Mod Podge. And the Mod Podge is actually what puts the fire out. All right. So we're just going through cleaning up our edges. And then we are going to move on to our soda cans, which are going to act as mini planters for our hanging planter sign. All right. So we have just a few more areas here. Thank you guys for tuning in all the way from, like I said, Scotland last time, and this time from Poland. If you're still watching, I would love to hear what time it is in Poland right now.
We also have somebody checking in from California, too.
Hey guys. Alrighty. So, at home, you can take your time with that step. You can use your torch and your sanding paper to get your edges nice and perfect. When you are done, it should look something like this. We are going to go ahead and move on to making our small planters slash vases. So I'll go ahead and set this off to the side for just a second. So I am going to talk you guys through this step because decorating your soda can actually takes a little bit of time, but you're basically just going to grab your choice of paint. Again, like I said earlier, I am using our Folk Art Matte Brilliant Ultramarine color, and then I also used Treasure Gold, and I'm using the actual gold color. We do have multiple colors, and you can definitely use whichever gold color you would like, but for this project, I did go with the gold color. So, with your soda cans, you are going to, of course, pop them open. You want to get rid of your tab, and then you want to grab some sanding paper, and you're going to sand your soda can down because this is a really smooth surface, so we just want to add a little bit of grit to it so that our paint stays on and your paintbrush doesn't slide all over the place. So
Bianca, our viewer from Poland, said that it's 21:22, which is around 9 p.m. for us.
okay, so it's not too late.
Yeah.
Not too late. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, so you just kind of want to go over your whole can. You can even go around the top. And then you want to grab your paintbrush and your paints, and you want to decorate your cans however you would like. For my sign, I decided to go with this look. So I painted my cans with the blue color, and then I painted the tops of them with our Treasure Gold color. And then I did strips of gold at the bottom of the cans. I actually have a third one here. So this part takes just a little bit of time, maybe about 30 minutes to an hour with drying time, because you probably are going to have to do more than one coat. I actually did 3 coats with these. So probably about 30 minutes to an hour for that step. But once you do finish that and everything is dry, you want to bring your wooden palette back or your wooden surface. Honestly, it doesn't even have to be a wooden surface, just any type of surface that you can hang and that you can cover with Mod Podge and a napkin. You can use that. But once you finish your cans, you can bring your sign back in, and then we are going to use Aleene's Rapid Dry Glue to attach our cans onto the front of our palette. I love Aleene's Rapid Glue. It works pretty quickly, and it is very strong. Okay, so I'm going to grab can number 1, and I am actually going to face our opening towards the back. And that's because when I do add in the greenery, I don't want the greenery right at the front of the sign. I kind of want it towards the back. But that's definitely a preference. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some of our alines to the back here. I'll swirl it around just a little bit. And then we are going to lay our can down. We're going to repeat these same steps with our remaining 2 cans. Alrighty. And then I'm going to grab our last one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to add our alines onto the back. I'm just spreading it around. And then we're going to lay it right there. Try to make sure your cans are evenly spaced out and are straight before you allow the glue to dry, because once it dries, this glue is very strong. It will be very hard to remove your can without damaging your sign. So try to make sure that they are as straight as possible, and you want to let that sit. I wasn't in a rush to get this project done, so I did let my can sit overnight. And when you are done, your final product should look something like this. So I've already gone ahead and added in my greenery here. My cans are on. They are nice and sturdy. Everything is nice and dry. And I'll show you this from the front too, but before I do that, I do want to show you guys our color palette really quickly. I mentioned a few minutes ago the color trends that we are following here for the first few months of the year. So you'll notice throughout our lives for the next few weeks that we will be using a lot of the colors that you see here. So these are the fun colors that we have chosen for our projects, and I'll pull this in just so you can kind of see. So we have our navy blue, our dark blue colors. We also have the gold in this project. And then I made sure that I picked out a napkin that pulled in some of our pinks, some of our yellows, some of the light blue, and I even believe there's a splash of orange in here too. So that is the color palette for Q1. All right, so now I'm going to show you our sign from the front. So this is our hanging planter sign. I hope that you guys enjoyed this project. If you have any questions before we get out of here, let me know. I definitely do not mind answering them. Like I said, this is one of my favorite Mod Podge tricks and hacks. And again, please be safe when you try this out at home. Make sure you keep some water next to you just in case you have any accidents, which I doubt you will, but just in case, please do that. If you try this project out at home, as always, use #PlaidCrafts. We would love to see your project. We want to thumbs up it. Or if you have any other projects that you are working on for spring and for Easter, we love to gather inspiration from you guys as well, and we would love to see it. That is it for today. We'll see you guys back next Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Thank you guys for joining us today.